Hey guys, welcome to my channel where I bring you the history of everything. Today we are going to be looking at the history of Sweden. So if you want to know how this country went from a small village to one of the most powerful countries in the world, stay tuned. Sweden is a Nordic country in Northern Europe. Geographically, it is part of the region known as Scandinavia, which also includes Norway and Finland. With a population of around 10 million people, Sweden is the third largest country in Northern Europe after Russia and Finland. However, due to its geographical location and natural borders, it has always had close ties with the other Scandinavian countries. Sweden has a long and rich history spanning over 1,000 years. Its journey through time has been marked by significant events that have shaped the nation into what it is today. So let's take a look at the history of Sweden, shall we? Before the Viking Age, the area that is now Sweden was inhabited by various groups of people. The oldest known inhabitants were the Sami or Sami people, who were, and still are, nomadic reindeer herders. During the 4th century AD, Germanic tribes began to migrate to Sweden, and by the 6th century, they had established themselves in the southern and eastern parts of the country. This marked the beginning of Swedish history as we know it. The Viking Age in Sweden began around the 8th century and lasted until the 11th century. During this period, Swedish Vikings went on extensive raids and trading expeditions throughout Europe. The British Isles and even North America established trade routes and settlements as far away as the Byzantine Empire and the Middle East. The most famous Swedish Viking was probably Ragnar Lothbrok. His legendary exploits have been immortalized in Norse sagas. But he was very likely a semi-mythical hero. Famous Swedish Vikings include Ivar the Boneless, Bjorn Ironside, Halfdan, Ragnarsson, Ubba, and many more. But with the end of the Viking Age, Sweden entered a new chapter. From the 11th century onwards, Swedish society became increasingly Christianized, and several powerful dynasties emerged. The first dynasty was the Munch dynasty, which ruled from the late 10th century to the mid-11th century. During their reign, Sweden expanded its territory and influence, and several important laws and customs were established. The second dynasty was the Evert dynasty, which ruled from the mid-11th century to the mid-12th century. Under their rule, Sweden experienced a golden age of prosperity and cultural development. The third dynasty was the Sverker dynasty, which ruled from the mid-12th century to the mid-13th century. This dynasty faced numerous challenges, including external conflicts with neighboring powers and internal struggles for power. During the 13th century, Sweden became involved in the Northern Crusades, a series of religious missions aimed at converting the Baltic pagans to Christianity. Swedish forces participated in several crusades and made significant progress in this regard. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. 1247, King Erik the Holy was killed during the siege of Visby, a city on the island of Gotland. Despite these setbacks, Swedish influence continued to grow in the Baltic region. In the late 13th century, Sweden, along with Norway and Denmark, became entangled in the conflict between the Kalmar Union and the Kingdom of Sweden. The Kalmar Union was a union between the crowns of Denmark, Norway, and Sweden, which had been formed in 1397. For a while, Sweden was dominated by Danish kings. But in 1520, Gustav Vasa led a rebellion that restored Swedish sovereignty. This marked the end of the Kalmar Union and the beginning of the modern Kingdom of Sweden. Gustav Vasa's son, King Erik IX, succeeded him and continued the policy of strengthening the monarchy and centralizing power. He also introduced the first printing press to Sweden. But his reign was cut short when he died in 1560. Gustav Vasa's grandson, King John III, came to power in 1568 and reigned for nearly 70 years. His reign was marked by territorial disputes with Denmark and Russia, but ultimately Sweden emerged with additional lands, including Finland. King Charles IX came to power in 1660 and reigned for only 2 years. King Charles X Gustav succeeded him, and his long reign of 54 years saw Sweden emerge as a major power in Northern and Eastern Europe. He reorganized the military and reformed the government and the economy. He also led successful wars against Denmark and Poland, expanding Sweden's territory. After Charles X Gustav's death, Sweden was briefly ruled by Queen Hedwig Eleonora and then passed to the Holstein-Gottorp dynasty with Frederick. I becoming king in 1720. His reign marked the beginning of the Great Northern War, a conflict in which Sweden fought against a coalition of powers led by Russia and Denmark to prevent Sweden from dominating the Baltic Sea region. Despite initial successes, Sweden eventually lost the war, resulting in the loss of territories such as Finland to Russia. Frederick's son, Adolf Frederick, succeeded him, and his reign was characterized by economic difficulties and the ongoing consequences of the Great Northern War. After Adolf Frederick's death, Gustav III of Sweden came to power in 1771. Initially influenced by his counselors, Gustav gradually asserted his authority and implemented significant reforms. He promoted education, the arts, and industry, and established a more centralized government. Gustav also led Sweden into the Russo-Swedish War of 1788 to 1790 against Imperial Russia. Although the war was ultimately unsuccessful, Gustav's military leadership and reforms left a lasting impact on Swedish history. During the early 19th century, Sweden experienced political and social changes, including the introduction of a constitution and the growth of liberalism and nationalism. In 1814, Sweden was drawn into the Napoleonic Wars and was forced to join the Duchy of Finland to Russia after losing the war. This period also saw the emergence of Swedish Romanticism in literature and art. In the mid-19th century, Sweden experienced rapid industrialization and urbanization, which transformed its economy and society. The discovery of iron ore in northern Sweden led to the establishment of mines and steelworks, driving economic growth. The population grew rapidly, and cities like Stockholm, Gothenburg, and Malmö became centers of trade, manufacturing, and shipping. Towards the end of the 19th century, Sweden became a constitutional monarchy with limited voting rights for men. Women's suffrage was not achieved until 1921. During World War I, Sweden maintained neutrality, but was affected by the conflict as it disrupted trade and caused food shortages. The interwar period saw the rise of social welfare programs and labor unions. Sweden's neutrality during World War II contributed to its relative isolation from European conflicts. However, the war had an impact on the country's economy and society. After the war, Sweden experienced a period of economic recovery and growth known as the Swedish Miracle. The country's social welfare system was expanded, and Sweden became known for its high standard of living and quality of life. In the latter half of the 20th century, Sweden continued to play an active role in international affairs, advocating for disarmament and human rights. Also became a founding member of the European Union. Today, Sweden is a highly developed country known for its strong economy, high standard of living, and commitment to social welfare. It remains a neutral country and plays an active role in promoting peace and cooperation in Europe and beyond. Thank you so much for watching the history of Sweden. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe for more history videos. Also check out some other videos on my channel. I'm sure you will learn something there too. Anyways, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.